Hello. Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. Look, we are finally getting back into the swing of doing all of these lives. And I wanted to jump on today. I am Dr. Torri J. I'm the founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation. And I wanted to jump on today and have a conversation with you. Every Friday, I am supposed to, and I'm starting to back up, doing a conversation called The Impact of Fatherlessness. And today I wanted to talk about something specific. I have noticed this over and over and over again. I am not going to be on here long. This is something that I stay on maybe 30 minutes or so. Healing Tuesday is an hour long, but I wanted to come on and really go through some of the statistics that we experience as fatherless adults. A lot of people know, but they don't know. And so as I talk about this today, I want to talk about it from a different perspective, as I always do. Today, I want to talk about outperforming the negative statistics, but not the negative behaviors. Can we say that again? Outperform the negative statistics, but not the negative behaviors. What happens more times than not is we have seen the numbers. We know the statistics around fatherlessness. We know what happens when someone grows up fatherless. We've heard about drug addiction. We've heard about high school dropout. We've heard about somebody is trying to jump on a call, and I've already left the call. We've heard about going to prison, going to jail, running away from home, growing up in poverty, right? We've heard about it. Hey, Darren, we've heard about all of these things. They grow up in poverty, they live in poverty, even as adults. We know these things. And so what has happened for so many is they've outperformed those negative statistics, and so they think they're out in the clear. They're I'm good. I'm not poor. I graduated from high school. I got a few degrees, and I'm killing the game out here. My career, I'm doing the doggone thing. All of this stuff, and so because of that, people think that they're good. But let me ask you this. Growing up, or maybe in your home even now, you have a child who's making all A's, doing great, but they're the class clown. You get called by the teacher quite often because they got behavioral issues in school, but they got all A's. They're an A student. Darren's a teacher. They're an A student, but they got some behavioral issues that's going on that I got to keep calling home and keep calling home, or keep telling them to sit down, keep telling them to chill out. Maybe they get loud. Maybe they're the child at school that the parents never even see, never even know. hmm And we're not just talking about, like, sometimes people go, well, that's just the normal behavior of children. That's not what we're talking about. It's excessive. It's a little over the top. And so people they're not recognizing it because they're saying, well, they do well in school. And I don't know why. And some of the research that I've been doing and had to do and writing papers and things, there's a lot of videos out there where single moms are being interviewed and they don't know why their children are behaving that way. And then the therapist who's talking to them begins to, yeah, Darren said, what's going on at the crib? And he ain't talking about my crib. What's going on at the crib with the children is what the teachers are asking. Okay. These therapists are asking these moms, like, well, where's the dad? Oh, well, they had a dad, but he left at this time. Or they had an uncle who became a father figure, but then he died. And the therapist, and I'm thinking of one particular video, or one video in particular, this therapist was like, you ain't noticed that this child is having trouble around the fact that every father figure they've had, or father that they've had, is no longer in their lives? And so they may be doing great in school, but they're having issues with behaviors. So what happens when you become an adult and nobody's addressed this? Or they just gave you some medication and told you to shut up and sit in the corner, and you in a daze in this medication, because often than not, that's what we've done with kids who had ADD, ADHD. I want you to recognize that children who are fatherless, they're feeling abandoned. And that's part of the reason that they have these behavioral challenges. They run, and this is the other part, children who are fatherless run the gambit of mental health problems, like run down the list. We don't know this. And then they grow up to be adults and, oh, yeah, I was diagnosed with ADD, ADHD as a kid. And what we don't do as adults, we're like, okay, that's just normal. But you don't know how that's playing out in their ability to socially adjust and adapt to things. You don't recognize what that looks like in their relationships, um, in their friendships. We don't pay attention to it because it's become part of the norm. It's become part of the norm. I want to go through a couple things today as I'm sharing this. I want to just drop a few nuggets just to make you think, just to make you consider a few things. That's where I'm at. I want to make people think. That's who I am in this stage. Because some of us are just walking through life as robots, and we know the statistics around fatherlessness to some degree. We think we know what fatherless means, and we don't. I want to make you think about a few things. Did you grow up without your father, and do you currently feel abandoned? There you go, Darren. No coping skills at all. Not one. Not one. No coping skills. They don't even know how to cope. That's what we teach our children in our Beyond Fatherless peer groups. We teach them how to cope and create thriving mechanisms to deal with life's challenges, because life is not without challenges. I don't know who told us that, but somebody did. And then we got to be an adult and we noticed that the challenges just kept coming and they didn't stop. And we needed to find things to cope we needed to find skills. See, it's called coping skills for a reason. We needed to find ways to manage. Some people use exercise and working out as that. Some people use reading books, other things. Some of us have gotten addicted to social media. It's a way some of us cope in difficult times. We watch trash on TV. We all have coping skills. Some of them are good. Some of them are bad. And let me say this, Darren. Some people, negative statistics can be a response to what's going on at home, and it's the only way you can cope, like drug addiction. That is an issue within fatherless homes, and individuals believe that they have overcome that, but they've got an addiction to cigarettes, they've got an addiction to caffeine, they've got an addiction to just the stuff that we think is normal. And then we'll dog somebody out who got an addiction to marijuana. But you got an addiction to all this. You got an addiction to porn. You're a womanizer. You have an addiction to women and abusing women. You have an addiction. That's part of because I know I'm on LinkedIn, but I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it because LinkedIn, you're supposed to be a little more professional, right? But it's important to say this even amongst those who have achieved high levels within their careers. But you're still a womanizer. You still out here chasing bags and looking a certain type of way. Fatherless individuals are hypersexual, because what we're doing is we're covering up our pain by having sex with multiple people and just out here running amok. You killing the game. You're a director at your corporate job. You do this and that, and you're senior VP of this, but you have no coping skills. You don't live well outside of performance. I'll get into that in a minute. You don't thrive outside of the spaces and places where you can perform. When emotion is involved, you don't do well. What happens to individuals who grow up fatherless is there is a compromised physical and emotional security. You have a compromise of physical and emotional security. What this looks like, you struggle with your emotions and you put yourself in compromising situations. And a lot of people say, well, a lot of people don't know how to express themselves and blah, blah, blah. And it's like when, by saying that, it's the challenge that I have when people say, well, a 2-parent home isn't guaranteed. A 2-parent home that's true. It's not. I'm sorry. That's my business line. They got to wait. And that's probably the person who just missed their meeting. Oh no, it's someone else. It's that crazy place where people will say, well, a 2-parent home isn't guaranteed. There's nothing no, but it minimizes the risks. If you do it right, it minimizes the risks that come into a child's life when there's a father in the home. Some people say, well, I'm not staying with someone for the kids. I'm not here to judge that one way or another. But I am here to tell you that I know plenty of children who can tell you the moment they had nightmares. It was the moment their dad left the house. I can tell you plenty of adults who can express, you know what? I've been having issues in my relationships since the day my father walked out the house. Well, how old were you when he walked out? 13. How are you now? How old are you now? 40. Arrested development. That's what that's called. So we've got to own some of this and understand how important fathers are versus minimizing and saying, well, every father isn't perfect. No one's looking for a perfect dad. We're looking for an active dad. We're looking for a present dad. We're looking for a father who will overcome his challenges so his children don't have to. And it's the same for you mothers, because what happens, I've just had a call a few days ago, and now I'm working with some of the gentlemen. They're going through or gone through divorces, and they might have come from a two-parent home, but the woman that they were with didn't. And so now they're constantly back and forth in court, fighting to be active and present. No one's perfect. No one comes to the table as perfect. And we need to get that out of our heads and out of our minds. Oh, I'm looking for a complete partner. No, that's what you're saying because you didn't see the demonstration and the modeling of it in your home. And so you believe that someone's supposed to come to the table whole and complete to a marriage, into a relationship. That is not real. Now, we need people to have processed some of their trauma and some of their pain. But some of that stuff, you won't know it until you walk into covenant. That's a whole nother topic. I'm off my topic today. Compromise physical and emotional security. You struggle with your emotions. You don't understand how to express them, what is the proper way to feel them. I'm going through a journey now of something that's come up in my spirit. And I'm like, okay, I've got to work through that. And one of the true things that the therapist has said is you have to feel to heal. I feel all the time. People can tell you I feel probably too much for some people, but I feel. And you have this one particular thing. I've processed it in my mind, but I feel it getting stuck right here. Like it ain't hitting my heart fully because I'm bracing. And you can't brace. You have to allow that feeling to come in and flow so that you can heal it. And many fatherless children, feel what? Emotionally unavailable. I keep messing up that. If you hear me, I done messed it up on my podcast. I done messed it up on the live. Emotionally unavailable individuals, 9 times out of 10 are fatherless. And you go, well, he had a father in the home. Was his father engaged or was his father emotionally distant? See, we look for reasons why, and it's like, stop it. Because I can ask 2 questions and you'll go, oh, I just know what I'm doing at this point. There are individuals who, like I said, are killing the game at work, but struggle in their relationships, their friendships, their romantic relationships, their platonic relationships. They struggle at a high level because you've overcome the negative statistics, but not the behaviors. Let's get into some of the behaviors. Social adjustment, that means socializing with others. Fatherless individuals who have not healed this ADD, ADHD, ODD, we're going to go through those. They haven't healed those things, and so they do not play well with others. They burning up relationships, like setting them on fire, burning bridges, all types of things. I did that. I did that in my 20s, probably in my early 30s. I don't do that anymore because I understand now where that was coming from. I have friends that I am now friends with again. Thank you, God, for forgiveness, reconciliation, all of that. And we were able to become adults and come to the table. And I had to admit some things that I had done wrong in our friendship. And now some of my friends, they've circled back because it was the time to do that. And we've now had relationships for 20 something years. Yeah. You got to own the part that you played in the destruction of some of these relationships. Socializing with others, issues in friendships and relationships. Here's what I find interesting. Part of the behavioral challenges that fatherless adults have is we put on a persona of arrogance and intimidation. Oh, he's intimidated by me. How many times have men heard women say this? How many times have you said this as a woman? It's a disguise. And let me tell you what it's a disguise for: fears, resentment, anxieties, and unhappiness. Ladies, ladies, you're unhappy and you disguise all of this under intimidation. Oh, they're intimidated by me. Why? Oh, I'm independent. Independent of what and whom? For what reason? Here's another one. Behavioral. Here's another behavioral issue, and it's a mental health problem. Depression. We have normalized depression where we don't even recognize that some people are not just going through a moment of depression, but they're depressed. They don't even know it because it's part of their normal behavior and feelings. It's part of their normal behavior. We'll stick to that verbiage. They're depressed. They grew up depressed, not even diagnosed as that. And they think this is a normal temperament. They think this is normal. This is their normal personality. And if they just get some help and maybe take a little bit of medicine so that they can heal, get the chemical balance until you can heal, and then thrive in life. But you go from work to high power, high functioning, home to sit in the dark. Yeah, I know people like that. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. Killing the corporate game, killing the entrepreneurial game. But go home depressed, go home unhappy, got anxiety through the roof. Not diagnosed, but your heart flutters. And it's different. I'm not talking about people who have this. We're human. So we're going to have anxiety. We're going to be sad and depressed some days. But living in a state of is totally different. You got to find a therapist. And I'm not one. I tell people all the time, I'm not a therapist. I don't play one on TV nor social media. I'm a coach. I'm a minister. And that's who I am. And I stay in that lane. And I love working with therapists to help people overcome these things because fatherlessness, it is the root of so many of our issues. But because we have outperformed the negative statistics and our mother stayed, I'm not supposed to feel any kind of way. My mother was amazing. That's what we're saying to ourselves. My mother was fantastic. And our mothers were fantastic and still are. However, not having our fathers present has done some damage that we have to acknowledge. And we have to acknowledge it before we can ever heal it. Here's another thing and another behavior, anger. Anger is a feeling, but it's also a behavior. You're angry. And people see the anger in your eyes, but you don't. You're at work. You're doing, once again, outperforming. Employee of the month, employee of the year. But yet, you are still walking around an angry boy because of what happened. Because you feel abandoned by your father. You feel like he left you. You don't even feel good enough. See, work pats you on the back, but you still go home feeling like you're not good enough. Here's some of the behaviors that you have. You're defiant to authority. You're rebellious to authority. Not at work, because that's a paycheck. But as soon as you get home, can't nobody tell you what to do. Nobody. Your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend. Who you think you are? My daddy? How many times have you heard something like that? And we're grown, so we're adults, so it becomes a challenge to push back on that. It becomes a challenge to push back on how you feel about someone telling you what to do. You're like, well, that's what we do. So when we're looking at these different things, this is something I found very interesting that I saw on a website. Fatherless daughters have a high tolerance for abuse or of abuse at the hands of fatherless sons. It said, yeah, fatherless daughters. And don't get it twisted. There are men who have been abused. I'm not that girl. I have witnessed. And abuse doesn't always look physical. It's not always physical. Abuse is emotional, verbal, that exists. And ladies, y'all know how to, that wield that tongue like a sword and stab and cut in ways that you're like, what? I didn't touch you. You did with your words. One of my guilty pleasures is some of the Housewives series. And one of the series, Potomac, there is a young lady on there who uses her words in a way and then had the nerve to say, "This is how I've always been." Then you need to change. And when someone then lands a punch or a slap, then she plays victim. I'm using her as an example because she's fatherless and her mother is toxic as all get out. And she's taking that out on the people that are around her, her friendships, her relationships. She cannot control herself when she feels violated, when she feels something has happened. She can't control it. Many of you have that same pop off. Somebody come for you quick. Whoo, pop off real quick. That is a trait of a fatherless person. Too many of us who grew up fatherless do not think we need help with anything because we are doing well in our careers, because we overcame and outperformed the negative statistics surrounding fatherlessness that we know about. But I'm telling you again, you didn't outperform the behaviors. Darren said when they get a dose of their own medicine. When they get a dose of their own medicine, it turns real quick. And trust me, people have tried to pull this young lady in. They've tried to reel her in and explain it to her. And she's still like, you guys are just mad because my words land different, because my words hit, and it's like, you can't complain about your toxic mother when you're the mini-me version of that very thing. She complains about how her mother talks to her and the things her mother says to her. And her mother's violent with her tongue. Her mother is violent with her tongue. And she is the mini version. You can't complain about what your mama doing to you and then you go do it to others. Like, that's not going to work. You're going to end up in the same situation your mama in. And it doesn't sound like it's good. I want to talk about performance for a moment. I know you're like, well, what do you mean outperformed? What do you mean about performance, Dr. Torri? Performance that I'm referring to is, so growing up in fatherless homes, here's what can happen. Not saying this is all fatherless homes, but what happens in this house stays in this house. So when you're in the house, dysfunction is at all-time high. But when you come outside, you're all polished and put together and well prepared and well rehearsed. And it's all of those things. Oh, don't act like y'all didn't have that in y'all homes. Don't act like that didn't happen, because it did. I work with enough people to know it happened in your homes. Mama and daddy fighting, and as soon as you get outside, fighting in the car. As soon as you get to church, y'all act like everything was great. We got our powder puff blue suits on there, and we got our pink dresses on with the flowers, and we acting like we're all good. But mama and daddy was just cussing and fussing in the car. Or in a dysfunctional home, mom's in the room depressed and sad, but when it's time to show up and go outside, we're all well put together. And you learned how to perform in your childhood. You learn how to perform. You learn how to show up. And so you've shown up. And you've shown up for your education. You've shown up for your career. But it's been very difficult to show up for your families and your children, dads. And I mean that. I know some of you are like, but I thought you work with fathers. I do. And I help them see how some of the stuff in their lives, in their upbringing, has made it very difficult for them to show up in the proper manner for their children, for their girlfriends and their wives. If they would have only known some of this stuff beforehand, if they would have only healed from some of this stuff beforehand, they would have shown up differently. They didn't know. They didn't know the fact that they disliked their mother really led them to be with women that were like their mother and that they would then treat badly and maybe have children with, and then be trying to figure out how to get back. How do I get in my children's lives and have access to them when I've treated their mother so badly? When I've done things that maybe wasn't in my heart to do, but because I was repeating patterns that I didn't heal from, behaviors that I didn't heal from, I'm now stuck on the outside, searching for my children on the internet, trying to go back and forth to court to see my children because I was behaving badly, because there were behaviors that I learned, behavioral patterns and negative patterns that I learned that I didn't heal from. See, we don't do what our parents tell us to do. We do what they model in front of us. Do what I say, right? Not what I do. That's not real. We do what they did. That's what happened. And so performance is what you know. You know how to show up and cut up. You know how to show up and perform and be the best you can possibly be. But when it's time to go home and close those doors, you don't do so well. Socially, you're not doing well. You're drinking. Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. You're not addicted to drugs, though, but you're a drinker. You're a smoker. You got addictions to things that maybe, okay, it wasn't listed, but it's still an addiction. Still an addiction. Find things that you're not addicted to in that manner, but find things to thrive and coping skills that will help you manage some of the pain you feel. And go to a therapist. I'm going to say it over and over again. It's who I am. I'm not a therapist, but I'm who I am is you got to go see a therapist. One of my rules, this is one of my rules right now, dear. It is very important. Keep your friends and your therapist your therapist. Sometimes you can talk to your friends, but keep your friends and your therapist your therapist. Yeah, you do. You love Tiffany's dope though. I love working with Tiffany. Darren said I love mine. Darren is one of my clients, and so I've been introduced to his therapist, and we've done some work with Darren to make sure he's good, and he does. Tiffany is dope. I will give it to you, and I love the fact that she's willing to work with me and not be like, what? She's been excited about that when we get together. But I want you guys to know that fatherlessness is not a doom and gloom situation. And it doesn't have to be your full on identity. It doesn't have to mean that you have to be a teenage mom and drop out of high school. But just because you weren't those things does not mean that you walked out of your fatherless journey unscathed and that it's not having any impact on your day-to-day life. It is having all the impact it desires to have until you heal it, until you acknowledge that it's there and you heal it. And not enough of you are able to acknowledge that it's there, because acknowledging that it's there will make you feel like you're disrespecting the father or the little bit of father that you had, or it will feel like you're disrespecting your mother by desiring him and by saying that what she did for you wasn't enough. It's time that out for living for your parents, and it's time that you live in the body and the state that you're called to live in. Can't keep living for them. Can't keep hiding trauma and pain because of them. Because what will happen is you will become them, and you will continue the cycles, continue to repeat patterns that your children do not deserve to live through. So I want to tell you that a father's presence buffers the risks that too many of us have endured. A father's presence buffers those risks. And if you guys don't know that, then I'm going to tell you right now, you're dealing with a fatherless issue. If you don't know how important a father's presence is, that means that you got some healing to do. I'm going to get off here because I'm at 28 minutes. And by the time I say the next thing I have to say, I'll be at 30. I am Dr. Torri J. I am the founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation. Go check out our website, see what we have going on, see the work that we do. Go follow us on social media. We're out here changing the game. I've had a few conversations in the last couple of days that have pumped me up, told me who I am, and made me step all the way into that. You know what I'm saying? I stepped all the way into it. And there's some amazing things on the horizon. I can't wait for you guys to see what's next. Go check out the last 3 or 4 episodes. I think it's 3 episodes of I've Got Daddy's Issues podcast. It is changing the game out here concerning tough conversations. And we've got a few more we're about to tape. I can't wait until y'all hear the topics. I am super excited about it. But go check us out on YouTube, or just, any place that you're listening to podcasts. Look up I've Got Daddy Issues with Dr. Torri J, and just listen and tell me what you think. All right. You guys have an amazing Friday. Enjoy your weekend. What weekend is this? Is this the second or third weekend? Because I always like to say, yeah, this is the third weekend. Wait, 1, 2. Oh no, this is the fourth weekend. It's next weekend. But there are some dads who do have their children every weekend. Enjoy your weekend with your children if you have them this weekend. If you are on your summertime, enjoy your weekend with your children. Enjoy your time with your children and do your best to pour everything that you can pour into them because they need you. All right. You guys have an amazing weekend and I'll talk to you later. Bye.